Ну, якщо відрубати. Ти цензурою займаєшся стосовно Deutsche Welle зараз. Так, це жарт. Це жарт, насправді все, що ми сьогодні почули і бачимо, це дуже цікавий елемент. Я не даремно назвав леопард Шольца Шредінгера, тому що таке враження, що Шольца заганяють в якийсь кут, і вже жарти, вже непристойні жарти насправді існують. В чому вимірювати жіночу нерішучість, типа в Шольцах. Ну, наприклад, чому ти так довго ламаєшся? Твоє прізвище Шольц випадково, знаєш? Реально це я почув від людей. І це, з одного боку, прикро, з іншого, ну, оскільки ми знаємо Німеччину, з іншого, ну, окей, зрозуміло, але так не має бути. Тому що все, що ми чуємо сьогодні, ми чуємо наслідки вже Рамштайну. У нас були величезні очікування від Рамштайну, що нам дадуть і леопарди, нам все дадуть, але насправді дадуть все. І це, ну, це вже є якось, ну, ніби як константа, про яку я говорив, і те, що НАТО буде вв'язано в конфлікт, як ти хочеш або не хочеш, в певному ступені, це не значить пряме зіткнення. Тобто літаки будуть, танки будуть, ракети дальньої, ну, тобто дальнобійні ракети будуть. От це буде, але не одразу. Як в радянському анекдоті, додік може все, но не все сразу. Тому тут ніякого не має бути сумніву про те, що ми лишилися на самоті, попри те, що там некто Арестович пішов або його пішли, і він тепер гнівить всіх і каже, що Україна програє. Це, знаєте, це так ницо, ми сьогодні будемо про це говорити теж.
Так, в нас трошки обмежений час у Глена.
Так, окей, давай... все, я віддаю Глену, це просто був руб, знову таки, посилаючись на газетну верстку, ну, треба було красиво представити цю всю тему. І ставте вподобайку, підписка на канал, допомога ЗСУ і нам, коханим, яких ви любите і утримуєте вже 7 років.
I just got to share, Glenn, I just got to share a couple of dirty jokes. Roman was, you know, telling a second ago. So how do we, and this is a new one from Ukraine, you know, from Carpathians in particular. So how do you measure a blade is, like when she's hesitant to, you know, for your approach? How do you measure it? What's the scientific? What's the, you know, what's the measurement? So we measure it in shorts now. So it's like how many, you know, so what's the rate of your hesitancy? It's like 10 shorts or 8 shorts or 15. It's like...
That's quite good. I like that.
Yeah. So since you got a limited time, and I have to do this translation while we.
Льош, я думаю, що ми не будемо витрачати час на переклад. Я думаю, що наші глядачі досить розумні, не треба. Я все розумію прекрасно.
Good. So yeah, we proceed with that.
Because I'm stupid and study English in Soviet school, ну, то таке.
Okay, so when you measure the German reluctance to proceed with you know, with Leopard seconds, what would be your rate of shorts in it? So how many shorts in this hesitancy?
I think 9 at the moment out of 10. 9, 8, 9. Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because the only other sort of countries that I can think of comparably with ridiculous political decisions have, in my sort of working career, have been Bulgaria and Serbia. And funny, both times, of course, it's Russia the same. And you know, the same sort of, in Bulgaria, the same reluctance year on year to make changes to the defense system that are absolutely crucial and vital, but no, we're not going to make them. And the politicians doing almost the same as Scholz. You know, yes, blah, 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 but it's a bit difficult this week. You know, so you know, this Scholz attitude is, I'm afraid, it's part of the Russian handbook.
When you mentioned Bulgaria and Serbia, apparently we know Sofia and as one of the capitals, and Belgrade being two capitals of European Russian intelligence capital. So there's GRU and FSB, and nobody actually knows who's where, but both main intelligence agencies are kind of, they had the quote unquote headquarters in these areas. So it's a direct Russian influence. And then you still think Pistorius has a very troubled biography, I would say, a very troubled CV. But I don't think that Pistorius is a game changer there. It's still, as Roman puts that, and we joke about it, it's this Schrödinger, cat, the Schrödinger Scholz.
Is he dead? Is he alive? Yeah. Both. It's or neither. No, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think he was chosen deliberately because he's a Scholz man, and that's quite clear. And he's not going to rock the boat and stand up and say anything difficult. I mean, it's like Scholz is speaking when he speaks. Yes, everything's fine except you can't have them. But I mean, come on. But there must be huge pressure on Germany at the moment. I mean, not just from the European allies. I mean, he's getting bombarded by the Baltics. I mean, really bombarded. But I'm sure that the Americans and the American ambassador are in there poking fingers as hard as they can for this, because I mean, this is they've embarrassed America by saying that Americans have got to send Abrams first, when it's quite clear the Americans don't want to put Abrams in there, not because it isn't a good tank, but because the logistic challenge for the Ukrainian weak logistics system. I mean, there's no maintenance forward in the Ukrainian system. So putting tanks like that forward where they actually need regular maintenance and regular skilled people working on them is a recipe for disaster. It might work. These things sometimes do. But the Americans are wary because they know what their own lessons are from using them. And I think they've pretty much said so.
So, I mean, basically, we got, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we got British government that said, okay, we're sending Challengers. Then we got a U.S. that says, all right, so you want Abrams first. So what do you think? I mean, because Zaluzhny was warning about the end of February, everyone's kind of anxious about the beginning of spring. March is, supposedly a time for something new. But I would putting aside basically the weak logistics on the Russian side as well, but we still consider it a possible time for a new invasion. So do you think that Germans would finally break into helping us until that time, and we would have at least a few bloody tank companies operating Leopards by 1st of March? What's your idea about that, Glenn?
I don't think so by 1st of March. I think that it would be a miracle, actually, if they did. Just because of it's not just having a tank companies. I mean, where are they going to find the commanders for a tank company? And Ben Hodges has made it absolutely clear several times, Matt, 40 times, that you do not want to go into this attack until you've done proper collective training. In other words, you are a tank company, not 10 tanks. And I know that, by the 1st of March, you can't do that. I mean, having been a company level commander, I know how long it takes to produce a working company and a working company sized organization of 100 people. And tank company is not a simple thing to do. And if you actually want to fight properly and cross the book, go in, punch hell out of them quickly, break through, and then keep driving, you don't just need the tank company, you need the follow on logistics. Where are those? So there's got those. If you want those, they've got to be made, and they've got to be made with some people who know what they're doing. Otherwise, you'll cross, they'll take the tanks, they'll go 100 kilometers if they're lucky, 75 more likely, and then the plan will stop. Because we don't have the follow-on logistics, we don't have the battle group structure of the infantry in the Marder vehicles alongside, knowing what they're doing. I mean, if you're going to go and do this, then the infantry, the Marder, and the tanks have got to practice. I would not want.
Я маю питання, Олексій. Тобто тут наші глядачі, між іншим, дякують, що немає перекладу. Там одна людина лише написала, що треба переклад, всі решта, дякую вам, що ви такі у нас навчені і дуже добрі. Але мені буде переклад потрібен питання, які в мене є. В мене є два питання. До пана Гранта. От ми розуміємо, що постачання зброї воно буде. І тут уже вмикаються певні нюанси. Я єдине, якщо ви можете пояснити, як людина, яка обізнана, ну, старший за віком і більше досвіду має, та? Перше, що стримує Німеччину? Я от ніяк не можу зрозуміти оце от приховування наявного Шольцем і урядом Німеччини, які говорять, ну, треба, сьогоднішній, я читаю просто новини, і я, знаєш, я в шоці, ну, міністерка закордонних справ Німеччини розповіла, чому Україна не поспішає надавати танки Україні. Мовляв, надання має бути більш масовим, і ми чекаємо, що всі ми гуртом надамо цю зброю. Завтра Польща має дістати від Німеччини дозвіл на постачання леопардів. Польща вже готова. І тут друге питання полягає в тому, а чому Британія є таким тригером? Ну, тобто Британія завжди провокує увесь цей Рамштайн, який там 50 країн, але Британія робить крок за кроком, які випереджають всі наші очікування. Тобто Британія наш найнадійніший союзник, я маю на увазі по рішучості. Тому два питання. Що провокує імпотенцію Німеччини і чому Британія не імпотентна, а така прекрасна і Борис Джонсон? Тут треба стежити за руками. Він приїхав в Київ і треба дивитися уважно, як він вітався з різними нашими чиновниками. Насправді в нього там пієтету немає, але це інша тема. Це пов'язано з всіма оборудками і так далі. Борис приїхав як контролер ОТК, отаке, знаєш, що ви тут, бляді, приунилі? Я зараз вам поставлю все на місце.
Roman is pretty hard to deal with because I have to translate this whole, 5-minute speech, but he's awesome. He's great anyways. Anyhow, so the two question is that on one hand we got Annalena Baerbock, this lady from the Green Party, that is saying, all right, on the German side, we want to do this, but we need this whole chunk of people and of equipment and heavy machinery to go along with our help, so it's going to be massive. So this is her rhetorics on one hand. On the other hand, Germany is still reluctant. So Roman asks, what makes Germany is so impotent to this new threat, which is basically a long-term threat. On one hand, so what makes Germany so reluctant on one hand, and what makes United Kingdom, and I know that you're going to love that one, so what makes United Kingdom a headliner in any help to Ukraine, and basically over I wouldn't say that it exceeds, okay, this is what Roman said, it's not me who's speaking. So why is Britain actually fulfilling any need in defense, according to Roman, over our expectation, over any expectation on Ukrainian side? So this is a two-side one.
Okay, let me start with Britain, because that's the easy one. It's because this is what we do. We're British. We've always had a thing that, you do what's right. And I would say that generally most of my friends and other people, they're embarrassed about the Budapest memorandum. Embarrassed that we failed to deliver the right thing. So this is what Britain thinks it should do. And I'm going to say second best, instead of actually putting troops there. So we will do that, and Britain will keep doing that, because we believe in fair play. We believe in rightness of these things. It's the national character, and I don't know any of my friends or any of my relatives that aren't saying we should be doing more. So the Prime Minister, I'm pretty sure, gets a hard time from right across all the benches, because the majority of people are completely, this is right. We should support Ukraine and keep supporting Ukraine. I just hope we don't run out of equipment and everything else. But we'll buy stuff if we have to. Because that's Britain. Now, the reverse, Germany. I mean, I simply believe that it's the Russia question. I look at all the other things, and I cannot see that the other reasons are sufficient to go against the sheer evil of Bucha. You know, I mean, it's just, I'm afraid, but anybody who doesn't think that deserves a proper answer of in the way that, you know, most people now are looking at it, there's something wrong. And I don't believe that the general German character supporting Ukraine in terms of immigrants has been awesome. I mean, everybody I know who's gone down to Germany has been absolutely, totally filled with praise about the way that they've been looked after, the way that they've been treated and everything. So it's not a German population. This is a narrow focus political matter. And I believe that narrow focus is slanted by Russia. I can't see any other reason that is strong enough. You know, if you put the scales there, you know, and you put Bucha on one side and the invasion and the attacks on one side, it's very heavy. You know, I'm afraid that the other arguments don't change that at all, that they come up with. I mean, the nonsense of America first. We need allies to be working together, all this sort of garbage. I mean, come on, they all are there. You know, I mean, when Finland, for goodness sake, starts to offer tanks, then you know that you're on the wrong side if you're not following what they're talking about, because, you know, that's almost the last country that you would say would do this. And there they are, giving a huge package of aid and offering tanks.
Yeah, when Estonia gives away all her howitzers, for Christ's sake, I mean, the smallest country on the continent.
1% of GDP Estonia's given. I mean,
yeah.
German government should be hanging its head in shame.
So
really
true. Glenn, I know that we're running out of time, but I cannot, just kind of cut myself down not to ask this one, a very last one. You know, I got a new absolute star. I mean, I think I'm not an insider of British politics or military, no way, but I was following British politics and British new commander in new head of staff, General Patrick Sanders, and I was absolutely astounded by his first speech to the rank and file last summer, when firstly he was schooling the younger generations of officers and Ukrainians as well on not to underestimate the enemy, and to remind them that Russians are bad at the first early stages of war, that they learn fast still, which is important to know and remember. On one hand, he said that. On the other hand, he said that we are the generation of the British Army that will fight with the totalitarianism on the continent. So that's what he said. And, you know, my question is, when and under which circumstances you think that this red line will be crossed and a British will have their boot on the ground on the European continent again?
Well, of course, we've already got our feet on the ground quite seriously in several countries, and in Estonia, I mean, we have a very heavy presence, so the feet are there. Actual going in and fighting, that is a Russia subject. It's not, you know, we won't make that decision. But I mean, if Russia crosses into Estonia, I can assure you that the Estonian that the Brits in Estonia will fight without asking questions. I can tell you now that the Canadians in Latvia will fight without asking questions, because I've talked to their commanders. So I know that, you know, that their orders are pretty clear. And I think that that's it. You know, it's Russia. If Russia wants to start messing around with NATO, then they're going to get seriously punched. Because the quality of the battle groups in certainly in all three Baltic states is quite high. And you know, they won't mess. That's my answer.
Я вважаю, що дуже ми дістали круті відповіді на всі наші питання. Просто я дивлюся на графіки. Ми мали пана Гранта вже відпускати, насправді, так.
Glenn has a different broadcast in a few seconds. Thanks a lot, Glenn. That's great to have you, and hopefully we'll you know, come back to this discussion at some point.
You know where I am, as they say, and I'm always happy to talk about difficult subjects. It's good for my soul. Okay, have a good evening, gentlemen.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.